Wall Street just dropped a terrifying new forecast, a potential 15% market crash triggered by the Jackson Hole event this week. To really put that into perspective, that would send the S&P 500 down to $549. And the bad news for the market is just getting started. With it all being said, we have a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk about the sell-off with multiple stocks yesterday. Literally all of them are down a decent amount. And we're going to be talking about some plays that we can make off of this, talk about September a little bit, talk about the Jackson Hole, and just everything that you guys need to know about the stock market today and for the rest of the week. So first off, we're going to talk about how they dropped, like most of the stocks dropped. We had Nvidia down 3.5%, which is kind of insane. Microsoft 1.4%. Apple didn't really drop too much, but honestly, if you look at the charts, it didn't really look too good either. We had Amazon down 1.5%, Meta down 2%, Broadcom down 3.5%, Tesla down 1.7%, and another bigger one, if we scroll down just a little bit more, Palantir was down 10%. Almost 10% today. And honestly, Palantir's just been falling for the past couple of days anyway. With that being said, man, we have been on a losing streak with Palantir overall. And honestly, man, there is a price target of $40 on the head of Palantir. If you guys are bullish with this one, maybe it's time to flip sides. With that being said, we are at a key level right now. So if we break below this even more, we can break down even more, maybe to like that 148 to that 140. But if we do see Palantir below that $100 level, I'm personally going to be loading up for my long term, because Palantir below that $100 level is kind of good. With that all being said, though, we have some other stocks like Nvidia. Nvidia dropped down a decent amount, losing, days worth of gains basically. And honestly, man, it's just continuing, and it's probably going to continue for today. And honestly, you might even see Nvidia down to that 170 level. So keep that in mind overall. September is pretty bearish. We got the Jackson Hole coming out. Honestly, overall, the markets are bearish overall, especially with that article coming out saying that the markets can drop 15% if it goes pretty bad. But we got more to talk about, because honestly, it can drop 15%. But overall, it is still pretty bullish. But we're going to talk about what can make it bearish. But to talk a little bit more about Nvidia overall, China is warning the firms not to use any of the Nvidia's chips. But Nvidia did come out with a chip better than the H20 chip to be used. But this is still bearish overall, because they came out with that news yesterday. We did see a little bit of a spike upwards with Nvidia. But then, honestly, man, some other bearish news came out. We also got some news with the Amazon chips doing pretty well as competition to Nvidia, but it didn't really connect so well because Amazon sold off as well. But honestly, this could have been some good news overall for Amazon, because honestly, man, they're literally the biggest e-commerce out there. They got cloud, they got everything, and now they're making chips. So honestly, man, later on when this bearish momentum stops, you could probably see Amazon to the upside, especially if this chip does prove to be at least a little bit better or similar to the Nvidia Blackwell chips. First link in the description below, I have a bunch of courses to help you guys become more profitable. Check out these courses with that code down below. You guys can get 50% off, and the courses are already relatively cheap. But moving over to the stock market calendar, key economic data, we did get retail sales for July. So what to expect for today, Wednesday, August 20th, we do have a FOMC meeting. This is a detailed transcript of the Fed's last policy meeting in July. Traders will be ripping it apart word by word to find out any hint of division among any of the Fed members. What to look for? They're searching for any mention of a definitive timeline for rate cuts or specific worries about the economy slowing down. Any language that sounds more dovish, pro rate cuts, and could cause a quick rally overall. Hawkish language could also do the opposite, basically breaking the markets down even more. And then tomorrow we do have like way more. We do have the Jackson Hole begins, but Fed Jerome doesn't come out until Friday. While this event starts, the big speeches aren't until Friday. It will most likely be headlines and chatter. We do have the weekless jobless claims. The weekly check on the labor market, a surprise spike in claims could get the market excited about potential rate cuts. But then if it doesn't beat, you're going to get like a downward trend with the market overall, of course. And then Friday, man, we got the Super Bowl overall, man. Jerome does speak at the Jackson Hole. This is literally everything that people are anticipating for that 15% drop that we were talking about. Honestly, bearish or bullish overall. This speech that will set the tone for the markets for the entire month of September. The bull case, what the market wants. Jerome acknowledges that inflation is cooling and signals that the Fed is ready to consider rate cuts in the near future. The bear case, what the market fears. Jerome focuses on the strong retail sales and other robust data, saying it's too early to declare victory on inflation and that the Fed must remain vigilant. The higher for longer narrative, basically what he's been saying overall. But back to this fearful screenshot. We are seeing some profit taken overall, especially with this article coming out saying that we can potentially see a 15% drop with the Jackson Hole speech. But honestly, the market isn't really pricing this in yet, and it's not really that much believable. But like I said before, a 15% drop would bring the SPY down to $549, which is kind of insane, but it gives you some good momentum to buy up for the long term. As of right now, we do see a 0% chance of a 0.5 basis point cut in September overall. Honestly, crazy it's at 0, but we do still have an 84% chance of a cut overall. But looking at how the market normally moves during the Jackson Hole event, we've seen on average the market does increase and does look bullish overall. But with the market right now, it is looking a little bit more bearish, especially with the way we're selling off right now, anticipating into this event. And with Jerome and President Trump beef, it might be a little bit more bearish this year. We also seen President Trump come out this morning with some more shots fired at Jerome about not cutting overall. But with that being said, man, we only had a few times where we were bearish overall with this event, and then multiple times where we were bullish. So honestly, man, we did see in 2022 a big drop, and we might see another drop soon. Because honestly, man, if you look at this rate, man, we have one green, one red, one green, one red, green, 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 red, green, green, red, green, green, red, and then two greens. So potentially, man, we might be getting a little bit of a red, just with the trends. But honestly, that's not really not really a valid point. It just depends on what they say. So we've seen a little bit of a shift yesterday in the market overall, and we are seeing defensive stocks like utilities and consumer staples did slightly better than the rest of the market overall. This is a sign of nervousness with traders rotating into safer stocks. Tech was mostly quiet, but not really quiet, honestly. Tech basically dropped down below as we've seen staples go up higher. And like 30 minutes ago, we got Target's Q2 2025 results. Honestly, not really doing too good, but the digital sales did pretty well, and the EPS did pretty well as well. But honestly, didn't really look too good overall. But if we look at how it moved, man, we sold off a decent amount, literally giving away like weeks worth of gains. With that being said, man, it might be able to fill up the gap back upwards, especially with people going into stocks like this. So honestly, have Target on your radar today, but it didn't beat expectations whatsoever. So talking more about Intel did do pretty good yesterday, but we did have like a big buy and then a decent sell. We did get some news coming out saying that SoftBank will invest $2 billion into the chip maker, and it did make it go up after hours and then spike up during the market open yesterday. So honestly, I think Intel is one stock that you might want to have on your radar, especially in these times, especially if we start seeing it go back down. But with that being said, Lovnick says Intel to give government stakes for the CHIP Act that they came out with. And that means that the government can own around 10% of Intel with this, which is kind of insane, making it more of like a government stock to say. But it is pretty bullish overall. We're finally seeing some good movement with Intel. And honestly, man, if you guys got it down at that $20 level, like I told you guys to, you guys would be up a decent amount. And I'm up a decent amount on my long term. I might be switching some stocks around for right now for September and then rebuying them later on. So I'm going to be making a video about that very, very soon. With that all being said, man, we're in a market where you got to be very, very cautious, man. You got to just be very, very careful right now, especially with the way the market is moving. I think we are pretty bearish overall and honestly not really looking too good. So right now you guys can play some put options and just see where it goes. With that being said, some stocks I do recommend playing some puts on. Of course, Nvidia. Nvidia is like the first stock to really like take a hit on the S&P 500. So first one I'm looking at is Nvidia, and potentially to the downside. I just want to see how it opens. We might open up a little bit green and then start selling off, and or just start selling off right away. We did try to like buyers kind of came in after hours, but honestly not really looking too good anymore. And honestly, there's no good news overall. I did see a hold rating to like 155 for Nvidia, and then somebody else I think spiked it to 210 or 250, something like that, to an overrating, I think. So we got that news, but honestly, nothing else really major happened overnight. Bitcoin is indeed falling still. We have been seeing it falling for like the past couple of days. We also have, Apple. Apple is kind of, I'm not even going to lie, Apple is kind of holding up pretty strong. Honestly, even yesterday, like we did see it sell off, but at first it was kind of holding up like even better. Like we were green, kind of red, but then kind of green, staying above the 30-day moving average. But then we finally fell below it. But honestly, man, this is a play that you probably wouldn't have gotten too washed in. But we did see somebody sell like 7.3% of their stake in Apple, and it kind of brought it down a little bit. With that being said, man, Apple is holding up pretty strong, but we could probably see it go down these levels, maybe down to like that 225, and especially September coming in. Honestly, I think it's just time to play some longer term puts and just wait for the Jackson Hole event. But honestly, I might wait until after the Jackson Hole event to play any plays, because that's going to set up what everything looks like basically. But yeah, man, I just recommend having your patience. Comment down below how you guys feel about this. Are you guys playing puts? Are you guys playing calls? I'm not really on either side. I'm just going to go with the market. You know, you never trade against it. With that being said, smash the like button, subscribe if you guys are new, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.